welcome back. So this second video is going to be all about how to decorate your wreath. So there we have our finished wreath base. So as you can see, I've done a little bit of manoeuvring of the pine, but that's a really nice, pretty even circle. So I've decided that the top of my wreath is going to be up here. So I'm going to work with that position in front of me with that at the top. You'll see I still haven't taken my wire off yet. We'll leave that on because we may need that. Okay, so I talked to you earlier about the trims that you've got. So what you need to do now is just have a play around. It's entirely up to you how you decorate your wreath, where you put the trims. So I'm just going to show you a few ideas, show you how to attach them, and then you just have a play around with it. One thing you do have to think about, and this is something I didn't mention that was in your kit, is your Hessian ribbon. You do need to hang your wreath. So if you've got a UPVC door, you'll probably need a hook, or you might put it on your knocker. If you've got a wooden door, then you can use drawing pins at the top, or you can nail it on the inside. But you need to work out how much hanging ribbon you need. I would do this, I don't attach the ribbon until the end because I don't want it to get dirty, but I would work out at this stage roughly how much ribbon you need. So to hang mine on my door, I'm going to need about that. So you've got 2 meters of ribbon here. You need half for your bow if you want to put a bow onto it. You don't have to. So I would work out what you need, make sure at least half of it is left on there, and then cut it. So for ease, I'm just going to cut mine in half like this, and then we'll put those to one side and we'll deal with those later. Okay, so as I said on the last video, as well as the real wire, you have stub wire. So these are designed for attaching your seed pods. So I'll show you how you do that, and then we'll start looking at how we're going to lay out the arrangement. So to attach a seed pod, you just take the wire, and then about 1 centimetre down from the base, you push the wire through, then you bend it in half to create a little U, and then those are ready to go into your wreath. So when I come to attach them, I'll show you how to do that. But that's how you're going to attach your seed pods. So how are we going to do this? You can start with any of the trims you want. I often think it's worth starting with the bigger things like the seed pods and just working out where you think you want them. So there's lots of ways you can do this. You can have them so that they're spaced evenly. You can create a cluster at the bottom. So you could have maybe, well, this is the top of my wreath. Whoops. So you could maybe have 3 seed pods there, and then you might want some thistles or some feathers coming out, but it's entirely up to you. Or you can group together around the wreath. So a general rule with anything design-wise is odd is better than even. So if you're going to have little clusters, you want to have 3 little clusters on the wreath. I think that's how I'm going to go with mine. So I've got groups of 2 at a time here. I don't know if you can see that. And I've just dotted those about. Again, always bearing in mind where I'm hanging it at the top. And it doesn't have to all be symmetrical. It's quite nice sometimes to have things in different positions. Okay, so that's those on. Then you want to think about your next trim. So I'm going to work on the thistles next. Now the thistles you will need to trim down. I would suggest removing any leaves on the lower stalks because they just get in the way. And when you're ready to put them in, you want to cut them at an angle so it creates a little point on the end, because that gives you a point to push in to your wreath base, so it's much easier to get it in. Now, when you're arranging, I always say to people, don't trim these down too soon because you don't know how much length you're going to need. So again, just lay them on where you think you might want them. So I'm adding thistles in with my seed pods. And I've got one there that's quite a big thistle head, so I'm just going to put that one up there by itself. And maybe one on that side of this one. There are plenty of trims to go on here. So you, again, a bit like the pine, you may find ultimately you don't want to use them all. But that's why you want to have a little play around and lay it all on. Now, this is going to be quite hard to show you, but I'm going to try and lift it up. They'll probably all fall off. But can you see? I've got seed pods, I've got thistles, and everything's just laid on at the moment. Okay? Nothing is attached because I might want to move things as I add the other trims. All right, so I'm happy with that. I think I'm going to put one thistle underneath on that one. Okay, so that's that done. The pussy willow, I would suggest we put in later on, so we don't worry about arranging that at the moment. Likewise with the eucalyptus and the scented foliage, because these are little things that help to lift the whole arrangement. So at this stage, if you're feeling happy with your thistles and your seed pods, I would start to insert them. So as I said to you before, I'm going to take that thistle off of there. For the seed pods, turn your seed pod over, take your stub wire and just push it through. Don't go too close to the top because they're quite delicate and you'll just tear them and then you won't get them on. If that happens for any reason, you can always insert the wire further down, or if you have a hot glue gun, you can attach them with that. So, best thing I always think is get the wires on before you start to do all of them, and then you are ready to go, a bit like a little production line. So I'm going to take those thistles off. Sometimes it's a benefit when you've laid things on to take a little picture of where you've got everything if you think you won't remember how you had it arranged. Basically with these things, there's no right or wrong way. It's about making something that you're happy with and that's personal to you. So don't feel when you're making yours you have to do what I'm doing. As I say, you just play around with it, lay the pieces on and see what you feel happy with. You might decide you want to put the pussy willow and the feathers in first, but I do think it's easier to put these bigger pieces in because they do take up more of the wreath. Right. So I've got them all wired. So just to show you what I'm going to do, you can either push these wires in to the moss base. Sometimes they're a bit tricky to get through. I'm going to try doing that, see how we go. But if they don't go through, you can just wrap them around. Oh, one's through. Oh, the other one's through. Okay, great. It's quite thick stub wire, so it should go through okay. All right, so that's through. Probably can't see, but I've got my wires sticking out at the back. And then all I want to do, pull it so it's nice and secure, and then just twist those wires at the back 3, 4, maybe 5 times, and then press the length of the wire down. If you have wire clippers, wire cutters, you can cut those wires off, but otherwise it's absolutely fine just to press them down. That's what I always do. All right, so I'm going to attach the next one. The other thing, the beauty of all of this is it's all very easily adjusted because everything's on wires. It's all quite sturdy. So once you've got them in, and also with this, that's why these moss bases are so much better than the foam bases. What's it called? Oasis. Because if you make a hole in Oasis, you've pretty much committed. Whereas with this, you can put things on and take them off, play around with them as much as you like. See, now that one, I'm having more trouble getting through. So I might end up, let's see if I can get, there we go, we're through. Now, the other thing, please bear in mind when you're adding your decorations is not to squash down all your pine. You want this to look really natural. So don't just plonk it on top of one of your pine bundles, twist the wire around and flatten the whole pine bundle. It's going to look a bit sad if you do that. So can you see I've got little bits of pine coming up through my seed pods. Must remember where the top of mine is. I keep moving it. Right, let's get these ones on. Also, you might find you've got certain areas that are a little bit lower on the pine front, so it's a bit flatter than others. That's a perfect place for a nice bit of decoration. So I'm going to put a seed pod. I've got one of those areas just here. I'm going to put a little seed pod there, and then that builds that up beautifully. Okie dokes. Oops. Sometimes they might get caught on your reel wire, but again, just pull it through, and as I say, twist it at the back a few times. Not overly gentle on your hands, this process, but it's worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. There's nothing better than a handmade wreath on your door at Christmas. And also, this year, because so far we're allowed to have visitors, you can show off to everybody that you made your own wreath, and they'll all be very impressed. Right, can I get that through? That's a tricky one. Oh, go on, through you go. It's a bit of a juggle to get them through. There we go, we're through. And again, I'm just making sure I'm not squashing any pine unnecessarily. And at the back, I'm twisting it like that. And I'm just going to push these down. Just be mindful that these wires, I try and tuck them into the moss. Just be careful with your front doors when you hang these, because obviously it is wire and it's got an end to it, and I don't want you to scratch your doors. Right, let's get these last 2 seed pods on. These are actually the hardest things to get on. Once you've done these, you'll be laughing with everything else. Everything else is super easy to insert. Are we through? Nearly through. See, at least you can see, if you're struggling, it's not just you, they are just quite tricky to get through. I think this one, this is going to be a wrap around, so I'm going to put this either side, again making sure I'm not squashing the pine, and then again I'm just going to twist it rather, on the back. Just, the name of the game with this is just making sure everything is as secure as possible, because although today, while I'm recording this, it's quite mild and quite nice. You just never know with the weather. It's going to suddenly start blowing a gale. The last thing you want to do is open your front door and all your trimmings are flying across your garden. That would be sad. Right, hang on, I've lost the wire now. Oh my goodness, there it is. Okay, we're going round there. Move those out of the way and twist on those. There we go. All right, I'm going to worry about all these wires at the back a bit later on, but just try and push them down as much as you can. And again, you can always do a little bit of jiggery pokery to move things around. But there we go. That is all my seed pods attached. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the thistles in, because I'd arranged those. So like I said to you, remove any excess leaves. They're just going to get in your way. There's no benefit to having them on there. And then trim your stem. So I would trim to, what are we saying there? That's probably about 8 centimetres. You can always trim it down again, but you want to have plenty of length, because sometimes these stems will bend and then you might want to trim it a bit more. And once it's in, if you've got excess, you can trim it. So with these, what I tend to do with all of these bits is try and push them under the real wire that you've put around. Can you see? There's one in there. And that's the other reason why I've kept this wire attached for now, because some things we might want to attach with the actual wire. All right, so down the bottom here, I was going to have 2. So again, I'm removing the excess leaves. I'm trimming the stalk. Now, they're flying everywhere. Some of these stalks are thinner than others, so just be mindful of that as you're pushing them in, that they may, and just do make sure you've got it under the wire, because sometimes you can think you've got it in and actually it's just sitting under a sprig of pine, which isn't going to hold it. Okay, so that one I've got in, but that stalk's too long, so I'm going to take it out and just trim it a bit more, and then I'm going to push it back under the wire. And as I say, if you're really struggling with getting these under, just grab your real wire and use the real wire to attach them. And you can always, so for example, if your real wire is all the way up here and you want to attach something down there, you can snip it off, wrap it round a few times and then reattach it. I tend to keep mine on until I get to a point where I need to move it. But also if it's just annoying you, feel free to move it, whatever's best for you. Right, okay, so I've already taken the leaves off that one. So again, remember, always trimming to a point. So you've got a nice little sharp edge to try and push in either under the wire or into the moss base. It's quite hard to get things into the moss base, so I'd always recommend trying to get it under one of the wires. Okay, that's those in. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm going to get all of my thistles. What you might find is you get some of the thistles in and then you think, oh, you know, I don't want any more thistles. So you stop and you put something else in. And then you might think at the end, oh, actually, do you know what? Another little thistle there would work. So then you just go back and you put more thistles in. There's no particular order you have to put things in. It's what works for you. I tend to do it in groups because I know how it's going to look and I know what I like. But when you're doing it for the first time, you might just want to experiment as well. A little play around. Right, let's try and get this one in somewhere. Trying to find the wires. I'm actually trapping these under the stub wires that I used for the seed pods. So it doesn't matter what you use on there as long as it holds it in place. Right, I've got one little thistle left. Where's he going to go? Where's my little thistle going to go? I think I'm going to put him down the bottom here, and then that will create a nice bit of detail at the bottom of my wreath. So let's find something to trap him under. Tricky. Okay, we're in. There we go. And again, just do a little bit of rearranging when you put all of those in if you're not completely happy with it. All right, so that's my second trim in, which is the thistles. All right, so next for me, I am going to add, the pussy willow. So you've got 6 stems of pussy willow. There'll be varying thicknesses and they're plenty long enough to go in, because you imagine if I stuck that in like that, that's a bit ridiculous. See how far out it's coming. So again, what we want to do is put these in where we think we want them to go, but it would actually be about that long. So you see, if I lay that on like that, if I lay, where do I want these? I'll have to turn this around and have a look myself. But say, for example, I wanted a couple there, I would do that. And then if I wanted maybe 3 at the bottom, I'd lay those in and just have a look at how it's feeling. And again, as I said to you previously with the wreath shape, the base, hold it away from you and have a look. It's much easier to see, and also holding it up helps rather than looking at it flat on a counter. So I think I might try a couple of those at the bottom. So let's just jiggle those in to hold them. They're not going to be in exactly the direction I want them, but it's going to give me an idea. And then I think I'll have one up there. This is what I say, it's all playing around, it's all trial and error. And even I've made a lot of these, but it's still every time it's different, because also it's natural ingredients. So ingredients, not making a cake, am I? It's natural materials, so they behave differently every time. Do we want 2 in each area? Decisions. Maybe I'll do 3 at the bottom. Okay, so I think that's how I'm going to insert my pussy willow. Sorry, that might not have been very clear, like that. So now I've decided roughly where I want it, then I need to work out how long I want it, and then you need to trim down accordingly. So exactly the same as the thistles, remove anything you don't need that's not going to be on display, and cut yourself point. Keep it long, because you can always take it out and trim it down and reinsert it. You can't make it longer once you cut it down. All right, so let's get that one in. Oh, he's sticking up a bit much. So this is, as I say, this is where you need to start playing around a bit and put it in, take it out, make sure you're happy with it. There we go, that's that one in. You will find as well that some of the things you put on maybe move slightly as you start attaching the other things. Now, just to work out the length that you want, so for example, I think I want it to be there. So if I were to cut it down to about that point, that gives me plenty to insert into the wreath. Let's cut it down, remove those bottom buds, because they're just going to get into in my way. And then sitting on the real wire there. Okay. And then let's just insert that one and hope it sits at the angle I want, which it pretty much has. No, now it hasn't, because I've moved the thistles. Okay. All right. So up here, I thought I'd put a couple in. I'm just going to trim that one at the top. I've got a nice bit showing, and trim that one there at an angle, and in we go with that one. There we go, we're in. And then that one I think I'm going to make slightly longer, so that's going to not need so much trimming, and actually there's no buds at the bottom on that one, so that's easy. Okay. Not doing exactly, I'm going to trim it a little bit more, so it's not doing exactly what I want it to do. So let's just give that more shot, sorry. Okay, I think we're all right there now, yep. So now looking at this, again, I only put one on this side, but I feel like I need two. So that's what I say, just until you start putting the things in, you don't know exactly how it's all going to come together and how you want it to look. So, or do I want, yeah, I need something in there. Let's put one in, I think, at least. You know what, see, now I'm taking my thistles back out. If I can get this pussy willow in, and then the thistles can go back in. But again, that's the beauty of using the wire on the base, is you can have a real play around with it. Right, that one needs to be, what do I want to do on that one? I need to get the buds off the bottom, just trying to work out the lengths I need, and then trim. Way, that one went flying. Okay, so I need some wire to hold that in place. See, that's an example there. That felt like it had gone in, but actually it's just sitting under the pine. Actually, I think I'm going to need to wire that. So you've got a choice here. You can either use your real wire, or you'll have some spare stub wires. So I'm going to use a stub wire just to hold that in place. This is quite a chunky piece of pussy willow, which is why it's a bit harder to get under the wires, unfortunately. And let's just take that around. Does mean though then I've got another wire loop to put other things in. So twist that at the back and push that flat on our wreath. Okay. Oh yeah, that's looking great, because that's now standing up. Right, so now the thistles that I took out, I'm going to slot back in, she says. There's that wire, there it is. Slot that back in. And with the amount of trims you've got in your kit, these are going to be very well adorned wreaths. I can see the wire, I want to get that under, I just can't quite get it under there. I'm not making it look easy, am I? But it really is. It just takes a little bit of time and patience. Okay, let's get one under there as well. All right, we're in, and all secure. Okay, so there we go. That's how it's shaping up now. So I've got the seed pods, I've got the thistles, and I've got the pussy willow. All right. Next up, I think I'm going to leave my feathers till last. I don't even know if I'm going to put the feathers on today. So let's see. But next up, I'm going to use the eucalyptus and, the fragrant foliage. Now, what's brilliant about these is at the moment, everything we've got on here is quite hard, isn't it? The pine's quite crispy, the thistles are spiky, the seed pods are hard, but these are lovely, soft leaves, and also they're lighter, so they create some movement within the wreath, and they add some different elements of colour and texture. So exactly the same as we've done before, we just want to play around and see where we think it makes sense. So I'm going to pop on my eucalyptus and then I'll hold it up and show you, and you'll be able to see the difference it makes. So I'm just going to really roughly put this in. I'll need to trim it down before I actually secure it all, but it just gives you an idea. And again, you just look and think, right, where do I need a little bit of alternative texture, and where do I need some other colour? And I'm going to do the exact same thing. So this, you may have single sprigs, you may have little groups, so you can cut these off, these little ones, if you want to. And that's not working there. Maybe have some of that around here. So these are way too long at the moment, but it's just going to give me an idea of where I think I want this extra texture and colour and movement. Always bearing in mind, we've got to get some ribbon at the top. So don't put too much at the top, because if you do that, you've got no chance of getting your ribbon in. Right, I'm just going to hold this up. So can you see now? I mean, these are too long, so it's a little bit messy, but I think it brings the wreath to life, personally. So there we go. So I'm going to now trim mine down. These are much more delicate than anything we've dealt with before, but again, still cut to a point. But you are going to have to be a bit more careful getting these in. But you'll find, because they've got nice thin stems, super easy to insert under the real wire. Whereas things like the pussy willow with the thicker stems, a bit trickier. So it's worth having a little dig around, spotting where you've got some real wire. See, again, I'm going to take those bottom leaves off. There's no benefit to those. All they're going to do is make it harder to get this under wire. Like, there's a piece of wire there. This is the other advantage, you see, of wrapping plenty of wire around. You've got plenty of loops to catch things under. Right, through you go. Let's get that through. So these are, as I say, much more delicate. So you may find they bend, but I've just pulled that through from one side to the other. All right, again, I've got two options here. I could trim that right by that leaf, or even by that leaf, and then I could use this piece as well, because look, that doesn't look like it's been cut. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take these two off because I need a decent amount of stem to get it in. I think sometimes people are afraid to tear off leaves. They think it's a waste, but actually if you don't, you're just never going to get these in, or if you do, they're just going to fall out again. So yeah, let's pull that through. So again, I'm pushing it on one side and pulling it through on the other, just because they are very delicate stems, especially on these smaller pieces of eucalyptus. So again, a bit fiddly, but we're getting there. All right, that's in. So then I'm going to use this piece that I cut off. Again, I'm going to trim the end. There's trimmings all over my kitchen. Right, and just push that in. There we go. Oh, that one's popped out. Right, okay, let's have another go. Will not be defeated. We'll get this eucalyptus in. There we go. Right, there we go. I can pull that right through now. So again, with this, keep your stems as long as you can, just because then you've got a nice bit of security. It loops right under the wire. Okay. Just realised I was about to stick my tongue out then because I was concentrating. All right, so that one's in, that one's in. What have I got up here? I'll take that for a minute. Oh, got a spare thistle. Where did you pop out from, Mr. Thistle? There we go. So this is a thicker stem, so that's going to be a bit easier. I've got another thick one here. Oh, I've got quite a bit of eucalyptus. See? Plenty, plenty, plenty. More than you need. Right, cut that to a point. I'm going to try that one up the top there. There we go. And then again, I'm going to trim those bottom two leaves off and just trim that. I've got a nice bit of length on that one, so I can get that to go at a different angle. Nope, that's not right there. See, I've just put that in. I'm like, nope, not working. So you just take it out, try it somewhere else. You'll find the right place for it in the end. But don't feel I've put it there, I've got to leave it there. And also, as I keep saying, don't feel you have to use everything, because everybody's wreath is going to be unique. Everyone likes a different look. Some people like quite simple, not bare, but minimalist wreaths. Some people like them to be absolutely festooned. So you do what's best for you. Come on, in you go. Oh, there we go, we're in. Okay, well, that looks better down there. I think I need another little piece here. I'm actually going to try, I'm going to trim, can you see that's got that little piece? I'm going to trim that down to the leaf because I think it looks neater without all the extra bits. Now, how's that going to look there? Or is that too much? That might be too much. Let's see. Yeah, that's too much. Okay. So next, I'm going to trim these bits down. This is my husband, who I did tell I was recording the video, but has now walked in. So welcome to my husband. I'm not stopping because I'm not just decorating my wreath all over again. So again, I'm going to tuck those in. I just love the movement you get with these different pieces. All right, so again, come to a point. In we go. Now what I would say is, don't put everything in and then hold it up and look at it. Because what you might find is you'll then look and you'll think, oh no, I need something there, and everything's already in the wreath. So you want to put some in, hold it up, have a look, put a bit more in. Oh, you can tell I've got a lot down in this bottom section. Oh, there's the wire there. So I'm running out of places to pop it all in. Right, let's move that up like that. Like that. And again, I'm just, even with this eucalyptus and these other leaves, I'm just moving them around once they're in to get them in the exact position I want them to be in. So let's have one there again. Tear some leaves off the bottom, snip to a point, and in we go. She says I can't see the wire now. There's the wire, that's what I was looking for. All right, we're in. See, I think I need a little bit of eucalyptus there now. I've done all of that. So what have I got? Oh, perfect. A nice tiny bit there. That's all I need. That will stand up really nicely. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. What's not attached? This isn't attached. So look, I've got a whole little branch there, which is brilliant. Because it then looks like I put several in, but actually it's just one. That makes it easy peasy. All right, we're there. So I'm now going to hold this up and show you. So I'm really happy with that, except I can see this area here. I've not got the movement in there, so I need to add some pieces in there. Although I've got the eucalyptus, I need some more of these longer pieces coming through. He's like that. Let's see what we can do. So let's snip these. We're almost there. Take a few of the spare leaves off. Like that. Like that. Now, are you gonna, oh, that's amazing. I've got the real wire there. So if I'm struggling with these, I can just wire them on, which is even better. Where do I want them? I think like that looks good coming down. So I am actually going to use the real wire for these ones, just to make my life a little bit easier. There we go. Again though, you've got to go around at least twice. You do it once, they're just going to pop out. And again, I'm avoiding all of the pine so as not to squash what's already there. Oh, that's looking much better. And then I think I just need a little bit more down here. So I'm going to use that double prong, because by the time I put it in, it's going to sit together like that, so it won't look like it's splaying. And that's going to come through here. Okay, so there we go, folks. I am really pleased with that. I've got a couple of bits and pieces left over, but that's fine. So last thing, having said I wasn't going to put any feathers in, let's put some feathers in as we've got them. Why not? So again, you just got to have a little play around, see where you think they look nice. I've created a bit of a feature down the bottom of mine, so definitely I need to get some feathers in there. And again, they just push in really easily, either into the base or under the wires. Okay, so you've got 6 feathers, so you can choose how you group them, you can choose how many to use, you may not want to use them all. I always think they look nice coming out where we've got the seed pods and the pussy willow. Do you know what I think? Do I want 2 in each area? Do I? Was that too much? Could I put one up there? No. Do you know what? I think I'm going to do 2 up there. Oh, I'm going to do 2 in each. Why not? Let's put it all on. It's Christmas. You can never have too much at Christmas, can you? Right, there we go. Woo! So I hope you're getting on okay with yours. Sorry about my ramblings. But there we go. That's me done. I'm happy with that. So having said don't take the wire off, I've not really used it. I did use it, didn't I, in the end? So when you're happy with everything, you think you don't need the wire on there anymore, just final security check, wrap it round about 4 times in the same place. Again, pulling it tightly. So if this wire is annoying you when you're decorating it, just do this process earlier and get rid of it. I don't want you to find it banging around, it's driving you mad. Like I said, you can always reattach it. So I'm pulling mine really tightly as I'm twisting it. There we go. And then pull it up so you've got a little bit of length, snip it off. You can use your snips for that. And then we're just going to wind it through a couple more times with that length that I've got. And then just tuck the end either under one of the wires or just into the moss base. All right, so there we go. We're pretty much good to go. So last thing to do, just wipe the mud away, is to attach our hanging ribbon, which we talked about earlier. So we've got 2 lengths here. So to attach a ribbon, super easy, lay it underneath the wreath. Now don't do that, because that's just horrible. You're squashing all your pine. What you want to do, as we've said with the other things, is lift up the pine that's there. So look, you see I move that way, I've got a lovely flat piece there. Stick that under. Can't see it. Haven't damaged anything. And then just tie it yourself. I always tie a little knot, just watching my dog wandering around. A little knot, just so that I know it's held in place, but you don't have to do that. Whoops. And then that's your hanging ribbon, so you are ready to hang. If you want to have a bow, there's lots of ways you can do bows. There's lots of tutorials on bows. Probably the easiest way to do it, I'm saying this, I normally do it a different way, so watch out, might go wrong, is tuck your ribbon for your bow under your hanging ribbon, then it's secured. So pull it up like that so it's even, then tighten your hanging ribbon. That's your bow ribbon in place, and then manoeuvring around the pine, just make it into a nice bow. Now I'm saying just make it into a nice bow, like that's the easiest job in the world. Bows are so difficult, so I'm not going to pretend you'll get it first time. If you do, well done, come give me some lessons. Oh, that's not too bad actually. But there you go, there's the bow. So I'm just going to snip my ends, make it nice and neat, snip those off at an angle. And again, you can do a little bit of rearrangement. And then, ta-da, that that is your Christmas wreath. So it's your feather and thistle Christmas wreath ready to go. I hope that all made sense. If you do have any questions or queries, you can contact me at Rachel Power Design. I'm more than happy to help. But I hope you've enjoyed making your wreath. I hope the tutorial has been helpful, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you. Bye-bye.